Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI.
Thanks, Jim, and welcome everybody to TTI's Distribution Download. I'm your host, John Sandy, and joining me today is Steve Brahosky from TTI, and our special guest is Jeremy Coe from Amphenol Communication Solutions. Welcome, Jeremy. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, John.
Today we're going to talk about high-speed I/O and how that relates to Amphenol and the market, and we're really going to dig in and give the listeners a real overview of that topic. So, Jeremy, why don't we start by explaining the high-speed I/O business unit and what makes it stand out and what makes it particularly of interest to our customers?
For sure. The high-speed I/O is a global business unit within Amphenol Communication Solutions that focuses on delivering the fastest, most advanced high-speed I/O connectors. Its portfolio includes various small form factor pluggable connectors like OSFP, SFP, QSFP, and the high-performance extreme port QSFP-DD that offers up to 224 gig solutions.
While we're talking about the high-speed I/O group, why don't you explain a little bit about the global footprint that you have and the Amphenol's ability to be able to deliver product from various manufacturing locations?
Certainly. High-speed I/O connectors are driven by standard protocols, and we operate and have design facilities across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. With many factories and offices worldwide, the Amphenol High-Speed I/O group can localize supply, reduce logistics risk, and offer regional support, which helps customers who want global redundancy, manufacturing, or sourcing.
Now, a lot of times now when we're talking about high-speed I/O, a lot of people are thinking in terms of wireless infrastructure, telecoms, and sometimes fail to see the need or fail to see actually the physical connectors involved. So why don't you explain a little bit about the role of the high-speed I/O connectors play when it comes to that part of the business?
Certainly. High-speed connectors are integral in telecom systems like switches, routers, and radio access networks. Products like the QSFP, QSFP-DD, and OSFP support the high data rates and signal integrity required in today's 5G and edge networks.
That's interesting, Jeremy. Thank you. Besides data centers and AI, which is all the rage these days, where else are high-speed interconnect solutions applied?
High-speed I/O solutions are widely used in test equipment, industrial automation, and enterprise networking. Their high-speed performance and rugged designs make them ideal for both lab-grade instrumentation and mission-critical control systems.
I think it's interesting as well, Jeremy, as we start talking about this, because every time someone thinks about high-speed interconnect, they always think of data centers, AI, all of that side of things. I think over the years we've started to see, I would probably say, last year's or the previous generation's high-speed products start to appear in all over the place in applications from medical, industrial, right the way through. I mean, even into automotive, and there's so much data and stuff moving around now. I think our teams work really, really well together and trying to define sometimes these needs and exposing more than just data center customers to these new products as we go along. I think one of the strengths of both of our teams is that robustness as far as releasing and training on new products. So not a question in there, but more an observation. I think it's one of those worlds where everything is developing very quickly, and sometimes it is possible to lose sight that technologies that are 2 or 3 years old are still very, very relevant to other industries in our world. So when we look at data centers and AI and next generation computing, how is HSIO addressing those needs?
HSIO is advancing technologies like overpass cabling, co-packaged copper and optics, and enhanced thermal-ready connectors. These enable faster, more efficient data movement and support the power and cooling demands of AI platforms.
Probably a good question to think about right now as we get into that particular piece of the conversation is, as we're moving into 2026, are there any macro trends that are particularly influencing HSIO demand and potentially maybe product development in the future?
Yeah, so one of the biggest drivers we see heading into 2026 is the continued acceleration of AI build-outs, not just in hyperscale, but at the enterprise level. Everyone is standing up private AI clusters, and that's putting pressure on speed, thermals, and density. Another trend is the rebirth of edge computing. As telco and wireless providers push intelligence closer to the user, we're seeing more demand for rugged, high-speed I/O in smaller, thermally constrained form factors. This aligns really well with what HSIO is developing.
While we're on the topic of developments, anything new coming along, is there anything happening in the world of PCIe, particularly in Gen 6 and Gen 7 standards?
Yes, HSIO is developing connectors optimized for PCIe Gen 6 and Gen 7 with higher data rates and improved signal integrity. These innovations will support next-gen compute and accelerator architectures.
If we could pivot a little bit now to the thermal aspect of the heat that's generated by these high-speed systems and AI more specifically, what solutions does high-speed I/O and more specifically ACS offer to accommodate or to account for that thermal management?
HSIO is integrating thermal features such as airflow optimized housings, liquid cooling compatibility, and immersion-ready materials. These are especially important for high-power solutions using OSFP and extreme port QSFP-DD.
Yeah, and I'd incidentally, beyond ACS, Amphenol is heavily involved in cooling interconnect to help with that thermal management to help get the heat away from the processor in these AI applications. So it just goes to the point that your sister divisions, along with ACS, provide a system solution from end to end.
So Jeremy, how does Amphenol HSIO ensure signal integrity at such high data rates, and what are the design challenges that come with that?
Sure. So signal integrity really comes down to the fundamentals. Using very precise contact designs, solid shielding, and low-loss materials so we can keep the signal clean as speeds climb. The real challenge is trying to pack more performance into tighter and tighter spaces. As we move from 112 gigs toward 224 gigs per lane, every millimeter matters. So we're constantly balancing higher density with the need to minimize loss and interference.
So Jeremy, we spent quite a bit of time talking about high-speed data, obviously, as it relates to AI and the data centers. If I think about some other sort of key market segments that we're seeing some activity in and certainly seeing some growth potential and some challenges in the test and measurement and the industrial automation sectors, what does Amphenol HSIO see there, and what products are being driven and what products are being adopted by those markets?
Yeah, so in the test world, we're seeing a lot of momentum around quad small form factor pluggable double density and our extreme port 112 gig solutions. Those customers care about accuracy and clean, repeatable signal performance. So the higher speed HSIO platforms really stand out. On the industrial automation side, it's a little different. Those environments are harsh, they're noisy, and they need rock solid reliability. That's where our SFP and standard QSFP families shine. These give customers fast connectivity without worrying about vibration, temperature swings, or electrical noise. So overall, both markets are adopting HSIO, but for slightly different reasons. Test equipment leans into performance, while industrial automation leans into the durability and reliability.
Well, that's a really solid answer, Jeremy. Thank you for that. I appreciate the insight that you provided here. I've got one final question. That is, what role would you say does distribution collaboration with folks like TTI in the high-speed I/O area? How do we achieve success together? And more importantly, how can we accelerate design wins or design-ins for ACS in the high-speed I/O space?
Yeah, certainly. So distributors like TTI help bridge the gap between engineering needs and product availability, offering technical support and early access to new solutions. They also provide market feedback that helps guide future product development, like the upcoming extreme port QSFP-DD224G solution. And in terms of accelerating designs and helping HSIO, a lot of teams in the field still default to legacy connectors when talking to customers. If TTI's front line can lead earlier conversations around power density, airflow challenges, or migration from NRZ to PAM4, that's where HSIO becomes a natural fit. We'll love to do more training with your sales community. Quick questions on where and when to spec QSFP DD versus OSFP, or where the new extreme port line gives customers a long-term roadmap.
That's a great way to wrap up this one, Jeremy. So just before we close out, and I do appreciate the insight and the overview, and certainly as it relates to TTI and ACS, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, so ultimately, this is an exciting time for high-speed connectivity, and we see TTI as a key part of how we scale in 2026 and beyond. The technology is moving fast, customer needs are shifting, and together we're in a strong position to lead the market. We appreciate the partnership and look forward to winning more programs together.
Okay, and that's a wrap for this edition. Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us. For our audience, that was Jeremy Coe, National Sales and Distribution Leader from Amphenol CS, joining Steve Brahosky and myself for another episode of Distribution Download. Look out for a next episode coming soon.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.